Welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast. Nearly 2 years in podcast, we're bringing you a special episode of fan request of our first ever Lost episode. This was an episode that we recorded as a test run, get us all in the game, see how we did together, and be prepared. It's a little rough. So from here on, if you are watching it on YouTube, you are going to see only Destiny's perspective because that was all the footage that actually came through. And if you're listening to it, the audio is a little less than exemplary. But for all of you out there that asked for this, I hope you enjoy it. And thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing you a weekly roundup of news, discussion, and condensed nerd talk for virtual reality gaming. I'm Rip McAfee, a host. These are your other hosts. We have JayBratt.
What up?
Adam Charlton.
Hello.
And Destiny Wheeler.
Hey, guys.
And we will be having 3 sections for those that are new to the podcast. This is the first recording of the podcast, so it's going to be new for everyone here. Let's see. We got a news section. We're just going to be covering the news that happened this past week, roughly. We have a section talking about the games we've been playing, what we think about them, having a quick discussion. And then lastly, we'll be having an opinion piece, and it'll be going over our favorite, or rather, the must-have games for our particular VR systems. All right, let's get started. This week's news segment is brought to you by no one in particular. We have no sponsors.
Actually, we do have a sponsor now. You know them. It's Asterion Products. They make the Asterion Aura VR headset stand. It's gorgeous. Go on AsterionProducts.com or go on Amazon and find them. If you're on Amazon, code FULLDIVE10 will get you 10% off.
But if you'd like to be a sponsor, please email me at ripmcafee@fulldivepodcast.com. If you're not certain how to spell that, don't worry. Just go to the podcast description. All right. Let's hop into the news. I feel like I should have had one of you guys be I feel like I've already talked so much and now I have to present the first news piece. So our first news piece is Vader Immortal and The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners are coming out to PlayStation VR. ILM X Lab, if that's how they call themselves, have announced that Vader Immortal, the popular series of games currently sold exclusively on the Oculus Store for both the Oculus PC headsets and the Oculus Quest, will be getting a PlayStation VR port this summer. All 3 episodes will be available together as one individual purchase, bringing the complete VR trilogy together. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, released on PlayStation VR, was released today, Wednesday, April 6th. I think so. You're the only one that has PSVR, right?
That is correct. Has anyone else here even played PlayStation?
No, I haven't. I've never even seen it in person.
I haven't had the opportunity to.
I have, and I sold mine.
You stole yours?
No, I sold mine.
Oh. Well, I gotta say, this has been a great week to be in PSVR. There's been several games lately, Half-Life Alyx, Saints and Sinners, that PlayStation VR owners have had to sit back and watch and just be super jealous about. So The Walking Dead, the craziest part of it was it seemed like no one in the PlayStation VR community even knew this was dropping until the night before it happened.
Right? Yeah, I just suddenly saw videos of it.
Yeah, everyone was like, hey, it's out. Reddit was just exploding. And they also found out Vader Immortal, Gorn is supposed to also be coming out this month. And then, of course, Pistol Whip's coming out this summer. So it's a good time to actually own a PlayStation VR. And for those of you here who haven't played it, it really is comparable to a lot of the PC VR systems. The thing about it that drives everyone crazy, it's 180 tracking, so you can't just turn around and do whatever you want to. But as long as you stay face forward facing that camera, it really is a decently comparable experience, minus the fact there is no analog sticks on the controllers, which drives everyone crazy.
Yeah.
I can attest.
This is actually really exciting for PlayStation VR because it's always sort of felt like PlayStation VR sort of existed in one space, and then all the other PC and Oculus sort of existed in another. And now we're getting to see a lot of the different overlap here. And that's really exciting for not just PlayStation VR, but sort of for the VR community in general, that there's all of this cross-platform play starting to come out. I wouldn't say cross-platform, but...
Do you guys know if the Resident Evil 7, did that get a PC port?
Nope, it stayed only PSVR. There's a lot of anger about that still.
PlayStation, let's see, let's do a bit of trading here. We've got oh shit, I grabbed my camera. We got I just realized I can't really do per finger. Like I can only get up to 2, and then I have to go straight to.
I can only do 1.
Only he with his fancy index knuckles
all
can
the
do
finger control.
all the finger control. Yeah, I would love to see Riggs and Biohazard on PC. I really enjoyed those when I was on PlayStation, and it's been a long time coming to see those for us for the PC Master Race. Moving on.
Oh my gosh. Destiny, you were starting to speak up there for a second. What did you want to say about this before I tear Adam a new one over here?
Oh, no, you're totally good, but I definitely agree with what you were saying with the more, like, cross-play or cross-platform games. I think that's been, like, a huge issue, even with other games like Arizona Sunshine. I know we're going to talk about later, but still, like, that was an issue, and so it's really cool to see kind of all the worlds coming together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll keep this brief, but it's interesting to hear your perspective as a developer on this, Adam, because the PlayStation VR community this entire time has felt like we are all one big thing, but everyone that comes strictly from PC feels exactly how you feel, where it's like, oh, PlayStation VR was kind of its own ecosystem, its own separate thing over here. And everyone with the PSVR kind of feels like, what does that guy on American Dad say? He's like, stop pretending I don't exist. Everybody with the PlayStation VR
he's that one awkward friend you always had in the friend group that like sometimes showed up and thought he was part of it, and you all like kind of let him be there.
Yep.
Right. Well, a part of the problem for PlayStation VR is that if you want to incorporate with PlayStation, like with the Oculus and the other Vive and Index, it works really seamlessly. You don't really have to add in that much effort. But with the PlayStation VR, it has some limitations like the 180 tracking, and that works well for PlayStation. It's a really great introduction into the VR market, but you have to really think about it when developing for it. And so it does kind of create that disconnect with more standard PC VR games. And so, but it's really great to see games like the Vader Immortal coming over into PlayStation VR. It shows that developers are really starting to put the effort into bringing together all of the different VR systems. And that's really good to see.
Yes, I'm sure PlayStation users are going to be pretty excited to get all these wonderful new games. Happy for them. But I say PC Master Race, but really I play all my single player games I play on consoles. So, you guys don't worry. I'm on your side. All right, moving on to our next bit of news.
This week, it's actually ongoing right now. VRChat is hosting one of the biggest VR events in the world right now. It's called VR Market. It's pretty Japanesey, but it's general for the larger VR audience in general. And there is just about everything that you can possibly imagine there. There are you can go and you can purchase 3D avatars and 3D models displayed throughout the venue. You can see all sorts of different advertisements and displays that all of these big name companies are presenting there. And we're talking really big names like Sega, Netflix, Marvel, and SoftBank are presenting at these. You can actually go look it up right now. You can search for Virtual Market 4, and it should be around until the 10th.
Yes, just to reiterate on that, if you're looking to get in, so it's hosted on VRChat, so you have to go through the world section for those familiar. They have a virtual market. Wait. Virtual market.
Nice.
There's a virtual market category that should be open right now. And so as soon as you go into VRChat, into the world section, it should be right there. All of the different options should be pretty visible to you.
Mm-hmm.
I am wondering about that, though, if it is just a PC headset thing, because when I was running it without the link, like just the Quest, I couldn't find the maps or the worlds. I don't know if
I could find out right now.
Yeah, I do believe it is PC VR only.
Okay, then that would make sense. Because,
the worlds
I
were
couldn't
pretty
find it
intense,
earlier.
some of them that I saw. So I would imagine that it would be hard to run them on the Quest was probably the main problem.
Right. Yeah, those were some pretty big worlds.
Maybe. Yeah, because, so as soon as I was able to run it with the link, we were, checking out some of the stuff earlier. He was telling me where to find it.
So I did just confirm.
Yeah, so it's great that all of you did get to experience it. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Just
you
now,
did confirm
it's PC only, all of the worlds.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a shame. So, Quest users, get a PC, get a link. join the people with a link and a PC. Master Race.
I'm just shaking my head over here because I knew that was coming.
I was tempted.
Oh,
I was gonna avoid it, but it comes out. It's
Just happens.
not everyone blew their stimulus check on a brand new gaming PC. Okay, some of us did, but not everyone was able
so
to
worth
do
it.
So worth it.
I'm living off ramen for the next month or two, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Yeah, but about the VR market, like we were talking about before, it is a really big world, and there's a lot of stuff in there, and you can tell that from the second that you first load into that VRChat virtual market world, that this is truly something special.
Let's see. I think Adam and I spent a good while in it. Destiny, you said you were going to visit it. Did you get to see it, Jay?
Yeah, I went in with some random people I met that were kind of showing me around, and I took the Audi tour. I don't know if anyone else checked that out. You get to like ride around in an Audi. It was really glitchy, and now I don't want to buy an Audi because I'm afraid I'm going to get trapped in it and it's going to electrocute me like it did in the demo. But it was really cool to see the detail they put into it. Yeah,
that was probably one of the biggest things that stood out to me during that whole demo was that like there was a lot of it was just like VRChat stuff. So like you could buy VRChat like avatars and then like clothing for said avatars. I'm not certain how that pricing and the structure of that works as someone who's had to deal with a bit of VR AvaChat purchasing through commission. I don't know how it works, but they're offering a lot of that. But the big thing to me was that you could see models of like real life stuff. Like there was some like, I mean, it was again very Japanese. So there was like a lot of like plush toys and funny looking pens, but my hands were freaking out for a moment there. But in the concept of it was really cool because you like pick up this toy, like kind of look at it. You could see that Audi in person, like see the scale of the car. It was fairly well modeled, and I loved that idea as like being able to see stuff like in VR before purchase. I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement with you, Rip, there. It is, I really think it's something special. And there was all the VR-specific merchandising and real-life merchandising that you can sort of examine. But there's also a lot of more advertisements or events. You're walking around this virtual world and you're seeing advertisements for the new Black Widow movie. And you can go into a virtual movie theater and see a preview for that movie.
Oh, cool. I didn't see that.
Right. Yeah. There is a lot of really cool ideas that are coming out in this virtual market that, and these aren't small companies we're talking about here. We're talking about Marvel Studios producing and creating an entire movie theater in VR for people to check out. They
had a trailer for Black Widow, for those that are curious.
It sounds like the first steps to really legitimize VRChat as an actual platform for major companies. It also reminds me of like a lot of people out there have probably seen the movie Ready Player One if you're into VR and you found this podcast. So when you see in there so much product placement, but that's really the reality of what a VR marketplace could be. It would be tons of advertising, like walking through Times Square, except we can't do that right now because everyone's stuck inside. So this is an amazing option for people to actually get out there, feel like they're seeing some stuff, for companies to still continue advertising. I was really impressed when I saw this. I did not expect to see anything like that in VRChat today.
I know, right? That's what I was saying. Like, honestly, VRChat's really kind of blown my mind in that aspect compared to some of the other social media apps out there.
You hear that, companies? We're giving you the okay to throw advertisements all over our faces. Come on.
It's only going to make it feel more real if there's just advertisements and billboards and signs and annoying stuff everywhere when we're walking around in the VR world.
And like that,
and I think some people will have problem with that though, but I actually think it's a really good thing because it means money into the VR ecosystem, which can only mean good things. The more money that exists in the VR space, the better it'll get for everyone. The faster we'll see better VR headsets, the better, higher quality games that we'll see. And so this is a really good sign for the future that we're seeing money from these big companies being put into the VR space.
There was a word that kept getting thrown around just now that I've never heard before. So I really wanted to put you guys on the spot here and ask a question. I don't know if you know this, probably not. My mom's from Japan. and I just heard the word Japanesey out there a couple times. So I'd really love to hear an awkward explanation of what the word Japanesey means.
It's like super stereotypical.
Please continue. I'm really loving this.
Like they like when Adam and I were going through it. It's there was like this 7-Eleven tucked in to like one of the spaces, and Adam was telling me he lived in Japan for a while himself, and 7-Eleven is like super popular in Japan, and it felt like not just like like when I walked into the 7-Eleven, it didn't just feel like a 7-Eleven. It felt like the 7-Eleven I saw like in all those like animes, and like all those like it had like merchandise for like I don't know, lollies, I guess. Let's be real here. But like a ton of that stuff. They had like anime characters behind the booth, but the general feel of it was sort of that like you'd expect to see Pokey Sticks like on half the aisles, sort of a thing.
Oh, right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
has that like market feel.
And just that like very a lot of like it's a super vibrant palette. It's the style of things that they're selling. It had a very sort of like very East Asian atmosphere of like, but both Korea and Japan kind of have a lot of that feel, I think, and it really captured it.
It does have a very distinct feel, and that is actually one of the only concerns I had about this one virtual market is that I speak fluent Japanese, so it wasn't that big of a deal for me. But this is very much catered specifically for a Japanese audience. And I would love to see this come into more of a worldwide state, or even more of an English-focused event similar to this as well. I'd love to see that come over here to the English audience. I think it would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
That was a great, very, very unoffensive way to explain the use of the word. I really appreciate it.
I can see it though. Like I can see the visual.
All right. That wraps it up for this news section. I'm trying to decide if I want to like. So we don't have the social media accounts up as of this recording, so I have nothing to shout out. That said, if I'm doing my job, they will be in the description. So please check it out. I'm expecting a Twitter account and an Instagram account, and I could be a big fat liar, but we'll find out. Check the description. Moving on to our next section. But first, this next section is brought to you by
Asterion Products. They make the Asterion Aura VR headset stand. It's gorgeous. Go on AsterionProducts.com. Code FULLDIVE will take $5 off any order, $19.99 or more.
So this section is the games we're playing. We have a couple games mentioned here. We all got to try the big VR MMO, Orbus VR. What did you guys think?
It's very different.
Wow.
I can say that. I've never played anything like it.
You clearly haven't played a lot of MMOs.
Oh, never. I think it's actually my first one, honestly.
Really?
Yes.
What an introduction.
Yep.
Huh.
So it was very different for me. But I dug it. It was cool.
This is one thing I will say about the game. It is ambitious in what it tries to do. It does try to take an entire full PC MMO game and shove it into a VR setting. That is one thing. It is very ambitious in what it does. The problem is that it has a lot of great ideas and it does hardly any of them well.
It really does feel like what you're saying, they brought an MMO into a VR world. It does feel like they just like if you could see that game being played on a 2D screen and it would barely change, for me at least. Like, sure, I had to draw a rune to cast a spell, and we'll talk about that. That was not a great experience. But it just added an extra step to what could have been the click of a button. And sometimes I wished it was the click of a button. But it plays like it plays like RuneScape, you know, you just like once you aggro an enemy, they just come up to you. There's no like it doesn't take advantage of VR, basically. It's just you versus the enemy and you're activating abilities. And for some people, maybe that's fun. Maybe that's like all you're looking for. Hey, so long as there is a game and there is an MMO, I am happy. You do you. But, you know, with all these like exciting games coming out that are like really trying to test boundaries. This one really was playing it safe, and it even brought a lot of the issues that come with MMOs. The UI was unintuitive. Adding friends was not just like difficult, but basically impossible under the right circumstance to add friends. It's got a lot of issues. That's my quick take.
As someone who's never played MMOs, is it normal to have absolutely no tutorials at all when you walk in one? Okay.
Well,
that drove me
typical.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, okay, it's sort of like, yes, but the systems are so convoluted typically that it doesn't matter. Either they throw you in the deep end with nothing, or they throw so much tutorial like garbage at you at the beginning. Like it'd be one thing if they like gave it to you. They're not good tutorials, basically. They just throw a ton of information at you at once. You don't want to spend an hour just clicking and reading stuff that you won't remember.
Right.
And it's basically the same thing. You have to figure everything out and just talk to other people. And some might argue that's part of an MMO. That curve of the first skill ceiling is learning the game. And some people like that. Some people are like, that weeds out the weak, if you will.
Part of the problem, though, in a VR setting is that you can't tab over to your desktop on your other screen to look up, how to do something. In a VR setting, it's very immersive, and so when you're having problems, it is much more frustrating than be able to just stand up from your computer and walk away from it.
Yeah, this whole time you've got this like headset, which, they've made them about as comfortable as a big block of screens and plastic can be, but still, it's hot. You're like bored. And with the amount of learning you have to do, it's a lot. It's a lot for any MMO, let alone a VR MMO.
Yeah, and speaking of hot, I ended up picking a sword class. Didn't really realize, everyone else is over here either drawing stuff or loading a gun, shooting. I'm having to swing my entire arm repeatedly, and I can't even switch my sword hands. I have to swing my arm about 40 times to kill one enemy, just repeatedly. And there's this really complicated system of I'll do a left swing, a right swing, and an up swing, and it'll do a little more damage. It does like 20 more points of damage on a 100-point swing. So like I was just sweating. I was tired. It was just not an amazing experience for me when I was already struggling to figure out how to play the game. And now I'm just hot and sweaty and gross on top of it.
True.
That is one thing I will say about the game, though, is that they made a great deal of effort to make each class feel distinct, and they really nailed that. Each class does play completely distinct.
Yes. Terribly balanced, but distinct. He's not here right now, or he is, but he's behind a glass screen in that direction. We have a crew member who was playing with us, and he chose a class that was just like at least 3 times as powerful. And when I say 3 times, I don't mean like vague numbers. He literally was spitting out numbers 3 times higher than everyone else here. It was pretty awful. And here I was, guys, whatever you do, if you pick up Orbus VR, even if you like MMOs, I say that like that's a terrible, nothing against MMO people. I mean, like picking up the game despite of its flaws because it's an MMO. That's what I meant. Don't pick the mage class. Just save yourself the trouble. You have to cast runes in the air, which I thought sounded really fun, so I went for it. But it's like registration for drawing runes was awful. I could sit there drawing the same darn rune, like, and I'd have like a 20% success rate in actually drawing it correctly. And there was no particularly clear understanding of why it was wrong or why it was correct. It seemed to be like at random. Really.
Maybe you just suck at drawing.
Maybe I suck. I mean,
right?
I do. Okay, I take it back. If you are an MMO enthusiast and an artist,
Right.
pick up the mage class.
These were pretty complicated things you had to draw. I mean, one of them looked like a bee. One of them looked like a fork. I mean, really hard things to draw. Your average artist can't just draw a bee.
Let alone in
like
VR.
the letter B.
Let alone in VR.
Yeah, they're targeting a very specific audience there.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yes, just my class. Pulls out his paintbrush and just gets to work. The people that spend a lot of time and like what are those Oculus like
tilt brush?
Yeah, tilt brush.
What I would like to see if someone's going to play this, take the mage class, attach a paintbrush to your controller, put a canvas in front of you, just see what comes out when you're done playing. I mean, it might be amazing.
Yeah, kind of like maybe you could just attach, like, you know how there's a lot of Beat Saber mods where you can attach like basically the hilt of a lightsaber to whatever controller you're using. You know, get one of those, and then you can kind of pretend it's.
That's a really good idea.
On to the next game. I've got a couple I've been playing. Echo VR and Vader Immortal. I picked both of these up because I was hearing some news about them. We didn't say anything about Echo VR because technically it's just news. They have a open beta, I believe, or an open alpha on the Quest. I typically try not to announce that type of news, though. I wait till the actual game is released. But nonetheless, I wanted to pick it up because it piqued my interest. So have you guys played Echo VR? Or Echo Arena or Echo Combat?
Nope.
I have not.
None.
I will say, okay, it's not on my must play. It's not my must play game. That said, it's a must play VR game. If nothing else, it's especially for game developers, it's very different. And it's a ton of fun. It's made really well. If you've ever read the series Ender's Game, it's basically that brought to life. I cannot recommend it enough. Is it something I'd play regularly? No, probably not. But it was a lot of fun. You're basically like, you're in a gravity-free environment while playing Tron. Is kind of the best way I can describe it for those who don't immediately know what I'm talking about when I say Ender's Game. Hopefully you know what Tron is, or at least, well, not the old game series, but the movie, I should say, where you've got like a disc, you're trying to get it to the other person's goal, and you're using like boosts and stuff to like in this very neon environment. It's super colorful. You're boosting around, trying to like get the disc in the opponent's net, I suppose. Super fun. It's such an adrenaline rush. Don't do the multiplayer off the bat. They will crush you. Do the AI. But it's a lot of fun. I cannot recommend it. And it's free. You can do they have Echo Arena and Echo Combat. I didn't get the chance to do the Combat. That costs an extra $10, $20. But the Echo Arena is a ton of fun by itself. And there's really no reason not to play it.
Disclaimer, on a scale of 0 to 10 for people new to VR, how intense would you say the motion is for people who get sick?
That is really, in fact, we should kind of mention that on Orbus. That's something worth always mentioning. But for Echo, you know what? Okay, I've got my VR legs. For those that don't know, that's sort of like the C legs for VR is the VR legs. So I've got my VR legs, and I will say, when you first boot in and it like introduces you, and when you first push yourself into the space, you'll have a bit of like, whoa. But it only took me a minute to get past that personally. And it took me a while to get my VR legs. So I'm pretty prone to motion sickness as VR users go. Between the people I've shared VR with and been able to play it with, I seem to handle it usually the least well.
Same.
And it only took me a minute to get over it. It's not, I will say it's probably not a game you want to play as like your first VR game. You know, that'd be like Beat Saber or Super Hot VR. But that said, once you get some VR legs under you, I would say this is not too hard to learn. You get used to the zero gravity pretty quickly, I think. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rip.
Of course.
Any other games that you guys have been playing recently?
Oh, I forgot to mention Vader Immortal.
Oh,
the other
right.
Game.
Yeah.
Have you guys played that game?
I've played all 3 chapters.
You've played all 3 chapters. Okay, I kind of want to hear what you thought first.
Well, so I played these back when I first got into PC VR. And so coming from PSVR, I was used to a lot of games that were cinematic, more experience style, and this definitely kind of fit into that arena for me. It was like, it was like, okay, here's some cutscenes and here's a little bit of action or some puzzles. And then here's some more cutscenes or a little bit of action and puzzles. But as a fanboy of Star Wars, I love those movies as a kid. The new ones, I'm not going to talk about it. But those original ones, I loved them. And I really felt like I was in the universe. I was seeing characters and I really enjoyed it. Is it action-packed gameplay? No. It's cutscenes and then some stuff to do, but it is really cool. The effects are great. It looks gorgeous. I definitely really enjoyed the game from that perspective. But if you think this is going to be a Star Wars run and gun shooter, it is absolutely far from that.
Would you maybe call it more of an experience than a game?
It's a game.
It is a game. Okay.
It's got game elements. It's like a cinematic game, I think is what I would define it as.
Yeah, well, I say it's not going to challenge you. I only played the first episode because I personally didn't think it was worth $10 per episode, so I only played the one. But the very end of that first episode had a big combat thing that I won't spoil. But I was taking a lot of hits during that. That said, I took a lot of hits and I did not die, so it seems to be a pretty easy game. It doesn't really challenge you much. Kind of like what he said. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. And especially if you are someone who loves Star Wars, I would almost argue it might be a must play. At least the first episode, because it's super cool to see. It's super cool to see Vader like in person. That was sick, and I might pay $10 for that experience alone. But I had that experience, and that's why I don't want to pay the next $10.
I'll jump in there though. It gets more difficult and it gets, I would say, better with each one. If you loved part 1, I would definitely at least buy part 2, and then you'll probably end up buying part 3. Okay. Very, very minor spoiler, part 2. You get to use the Force a lot more. And that in VR, it just goes together so well.
I've played a lot of Beat Saber, but man, it does not compare to the lightsaber they give you in that game. Oh my goodness. It is... it's an orgasmic experience being able to turn that on and off. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, in terms of a game, I definitely felt it was, personally, the game itself was lacking. It did feel a bit more like an experience, even though it was a game, was sort of my problem with it. And it was also stupidly short. When I say short, I mean, I beat it. I checked my time played after playing it, so not including menus, including menus and just starting things up, it was a 43-minute total playtime, which is not a lot. And I wasn't trying to burn through it. That was pretty regular, stopping to be whoa, and turning the lightsaber on and off for at least half that. But yeah, it's really short. Maybe the 2 and 3 are longer, but episode 1, I don't know. It was fun. And it was really cool to see Star Wars. I will easily say, if you're not a Star Wars fan, it's probably not worth it. In fact, I almost guarantee it's not worth it. It's definitely geared towards people who are just going to sit in the pilot seat of an X-Wing. You don't get to do this, but per se, sit in a pilot seat of an X-Wing and be like, yeah, I'd pay $60 for this. It's going for those people.
Did you try the dojo, though? Dojo's another part of it.
I didn't. Okay. Should I have?
If you are a Star Wars fan, yes. The dojo, some people say the dojo is the game. You get to, and in each chapter, there's a new dojo with new abilities. I mean, this isn't a spoiler. You can throw your lightsaber in some of the dojos and do the whole Force throw and get it back. So there's a lot in the dojos that aren't part of the game that ups the action and ups the intensity of it heavily. So the dojo probably helps it be a little more worth the price. I am interested to see with it coming to PSVR as a package deal. Will that be $25 for the entire thing, or are they going to upscale us and try and charge $40?
That would be, honestly, if they came out for a package deal, even on the PC, I would probably jump for that. Well, I wish I would have jumped for that before I already spent $10 on the first one. But so basically, if you're watching this podcast and you check the Oculus store right now and there's a sale right now, get it.
Yes.
I'll say that.
I have a game that I've been trying out. It is a game called Box VR.
Ooh.
And it is an exercise game. Yeah, it is a workout game for VR. I picked it up this last week because, I've been inside a lot during quarantine, and I need to start getting back into my outside body. But it's been a really fun, great experience. I got to say, it's out of the different VR workout games and different experiences that I've been looking at, this one is by far the best one that I've ever seen.
What would be the difference between that and Creed?
The difference is I have not played Creed. So Box VR isn't actually a boxing game. You don't have an opponent in front of you. It is more like Beat Saber, but with boxing.
Oh, okay.
And so different notes are flying towards you, and you have to punch them and do different moves like uppercuts or swings in order to get the notes. Yeah, and so it feels very Beat Saber, but just due to the type of motions that they have, and they have real trainers that come in and create choreographed courses. It is a really good workout experience.
I didn't mention it here because I picked it up roughly 3 to 4 weeks ago, but I did the exact same thing as soon as quarantine started. I was already sick for like a month prior to quarantine. Not coronavirus, it was something else. But I was already sick, and so I'd already felt like I was like trapped indoors for like 2-3 weeks, and then quarantine started. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be here a while. So I immediately got Box VR pretty much.
I've heard a lot of good things about that. I'll have to check it out.
It's really good. I still play it routinely. I like it so much. It's kind of what he said. Is it like a true replacement for going to the gym? Probably not. First off, it doesn't do any work on your legs, but it's a lot of fun. It's light Beat Saber in the sense that it's like a fun music-oriented game, but it feels a lot more like a fitness experience than a gaming experience.
Yes, very much so. Like everything about the game or everything about Box VR is definitely specifically tied to a workout experience, like where you might see a score screen in Beat Saber, instead you have the number of calories that you've burned. Like fitness is very much in your face at all times in this game.
And the workouts are really well made. I have seen my own progress doing it. I started only like barely being able to do the 7-minute one, and now I'm able to do like closer to 11 to 14 minutes. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It feels good, man. If you are like feeling down or feeling angry or something, you don't like this quarantine, just boot up some Box VR and just get it out. I'm sure actual boxing people will hate it though, because they're going to play this and be like, this teaches you such bad form. So, it's not a perfect experience, but it's a really solid way to get a workout. And what's really nice about it versus a game like Beat Saber, I sweat in Beat Saber. Once you get good enough and you're doing like the expert levels, it's a hard game and you get a workout. But the problem with Beat Saber is it works you out really quickly, especially when you're doing those harder levels.
Yes.
This one, because it's so focused on the experience, it builds you up slowly. You don't get 2 minutes in and already feel like you're dying. You start to feel like you're dying around the last like 2 to 3 minutes, where you're like, I can barely keep up my arms. Which feels good,
Right, yeah, you get to actually monitor your progress.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a choreographed workout. So you get the whole warm up and then the high intensity middle part, like the actual workout, and then the cool off. So it's very well choreographed.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Like literally this past week, I've heard a bunch of talk about that game. Like more than ever. So maybe because of the quarantine, like it's just getting more spotlight now.
Right.
It was also on sale on PSVR for like the first time really recently. So a lot of people got it there who hadn't played it. Yeah. And I've got to admit, I actually added it on my Vive port as a plan of part of this quarantine. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So I was thinking about it because of being stuck at home. I did the exact same thing probably a lot of people did. I said, I've been thinking about this. I have no way to get to the gym right now. I should get this. So I would bet that made a spike in it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out then.
The other thing, too, about quarantine and what's really important, I've been playing a lot of Rec Room. I'd recommend Rec Room or VRChat, as we're doing here, just because you got to be social. You got to find a way to still talk to your friends, hang out with people. So if you got a VR headset, this is a great time to use it to find a way to be social. It makes a big difference in how I feel when I actually get to hang out with people in VR versus just sitting at home alone and being sad.
I think then our next opinion section should be VR in quarantine. I think that'd be a pretty good topic.
Yes.
Okay,
Tune in next
for
week.
sure.
Yes.
Because I definitely have some stuff that we can bring up for that too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the exercising, but I know AltSpace does like a meditation or like a yoga class.
Oh.
And so, yeah, there's a bunch of cool things that people can definitely try out.
That definitely sounds like the kind of thing that would work a lot better with the Quest compared to a lot of these
That's definitely true.
Like, I do a lot of like active stuff with this string attached to my head.
Get wrapped up in it.
Yeah, but I can like being on the ground and doing all that stuff, maybe not so much. We're going to end this off with our opinion section. Again, for this week's opinion section, we've got what is our recommended game, not necessarily our favorite game, but the must-have game. Like, if you could only have one game on your system, what would it be? Let's start off with Destiny. I chose at random.
That's a tough one. Okay, so, I mean, definitely, obviously, Pavlov. That's, like, literally what got me so hardcore, like, wanting a Quest and getting into VR in general. But I think it'd be a tie between Pavlov and Arizona Sunshine.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't think Arizona had that much content, to be honest.
I love it. Okay, so, like, when you were talking about the game being short, that literally reminded me of Arizona Sunshine. When I first played it, like, literally the day it had came out, I got it, and yeah, I burned through it super quick. And so I was like, oh, that's cool, whatever. But then I tried out Horde mode, and that's like this completely separate mode where it's a little bit more continual. Like, you can play it for a long time. Like, it's not a short chapter. Yes, exactly. And especially, like, if you do it online, like, multiplayer, like, it's so fun. Don't get me wrong. I love the story mode. But yeah, you can play it for so much longer. And then now over time, they've released, like, other, the DLCs and stuff that I'm wanting to check out that have added to the length of the story. But regardless, like, the replayability of that game has been insane. I love it. Like, I have almost nothing negative to say about it other than it is a little bit short.
I kind of saw it too late to fit into the podcast, but I think I saw something about it getting a piece of DLC either like today or very recently. I don't know how quickly I can pull that up, but
it's had 2 pieces that I've played of DLC.
Okay.
Both still short DLCs. I mean, I think the original campaign lasts, 4 to 5 hours, maybe, depending on how you play it. But each DLC has been about another hour. But it's telling other perspectives and other stories, which is pretty cool.
And then, like,
you think those are interesting stories?
I know from the clips I've seen for sure. Like, I know the DLC they just released for the Quest is the last one. Like, it ended everything. So I'm excited to check that out and see how they kind of tie everything together. But yeah, it looks super cool. And then even with the Horde mode that I was talking about, originally, at least with Quest, they just had the one map that you could play, but now they've added, I think it's 2 or 3 other maps that it's not just stand still. Like, you can actually move around. So it's weird. It's almost like a hybrid of that mode and story mode.
Huh.
And it's up to 4 people playing Horde mode together. I played a lot of Arizona Sunshine with you, I played a lot of Arizona Sunshine myself. And so it's up to 4 people in Horde mode. It's really fun with friends. The one thing I will say about the game, because you're saying you didn't have any negatives besides the fact that it ended, for me, how short it was quite a negative, because the problem was the campaign really pulled me in. And right at the end, I was like, this is getting really good. I am really excited for this game is going. And then it ends right in that moment. And both of the DLCs do the same thing. If they had taken the exact same game and made it 3 times the length, it would have been a system seller, because it starts to really draw you in. But then it stops and it just leaves you painfully disappointed that there isn't more. So that was my biggest problem with it.
Yeah, I'm excited to check that out. And another, like, positive thing I do have to say about that game in general is the company, Vertigo, period. Like, they're super nice people. And I don't know, they really keep the community up to date. And because I've been on their Discord, and yeah, I love it. I love everything about it.
You have got to. Go ahead. Okay, I will take the reins. You have got to find a friend that has a PSVR and an aim controller and play it again with the aim controller. That is the only way I will play it on PSVR. But that two-handed gun in your hands when you're playing with two-handed weapons all throughout the game, it changes the game. It's a different experience, and I think it's actually the best way to play it, having played it all the different ways now.
Or you become a true Master Race player and get a VR stock for your PC controllers.
Yeah, sure. Well, we'll just leave that one at that.
No, I kid. I've actually been able to use that, and it's way better than the Pro stock and all the other VR stocks that are available. That said, I did just somewhat, well, not just, but for a couple of weeks now, I've been using the Magni stock. Pretty great piece of equipment. I would highly recommend it, especially for you Pavlov people, if you don't have a Pro stock already or something like it.
Cool. Yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
I always wanted one.
It's like night and day difference for aiming. Like seriously, yeah, you can't go back.
Nice.
Adam, what's your game?
So I'm actually in agreement with Destiny here. I think Pavlov is the definitive game for VR.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. So we've talked a lot about a lot of different games here, and but I think the thing that really sets Pavlov apart is that it is polished from the ground up, made for VR. It is like everything about the game, from the way that you move, from the way that you interact with your guns. It feels the most comfortable world interaction in VR that I've seen in a game. And so I think like a lot of these other games are hard to pick up and play. There's a couple of good ones like Beat Saber is another fantastic game for VR. But I think Pavlov, there's a certain sort of fantasy and immersion in Pavlov that when you get in the game, you pick up the gun and you're showing someone who's brand new to VR all the different ways that you're interacting with the gun. Just reloading your gun in Pavlov in VR feels incredible. And that's why I think it is the definitive, in my opinion, the definitive VR game.
It is for sure. I will say one thing about Pavlov though, when y'all were talking about the motion sickness earlier, since that was like one of the first games that I instantly installed, for people who are new to VR, if you get any kind of motion sickness, it is going to affect you. Like, you're going to feel it. Like, it was pretty rough on me. I lasted about 5 minutes, and I was done for a while, and I've had to try to build it up since then. But but other than that, yeah, Pavlov's great. Like, for almost, I think, other than the PSVR, like, everybody else has it, right?
You're making me want to try it again. I'm more of an Onward player myself, but
see, I have to try Onward, so we'll switch. Like,
yes, let's do it. So I went to a VR arcade. And I got to play Pavlov and Arizona Sunshine. That's like where I played those. And so I do need to own Pavlov again, I think, and sort of give it another shot.
Yes, definitely try it again.
Can't recommend it enough.
All right.
I am not going to jump on the Pavlov train here, and I am going to say over and over again, Beat Saber. And I have many reasons why. One, it is a system seller for VR. I put my dad in VR and had him play Beat Saber. He's never played a video game in his life. He just loved it. He bought a Quest, so he can now play Beat Saber at home. It gives you...
Sounds about right.
It gives you exercise. Anyone can play it. It is so simple. There's no explanation what you have to do. Literally, you just swing these things. There's no buttons. There's nothing. Anti-gamers love Beat Saber.
That is true.
Reason, it is only something that can work in VR. I think Pavlov looks amazing and everything. Could it be remapped buttons on a keyboard and be played? I'm going to say yes. You two might argue with me there, but really,
I think it already is.
Yeah, it is.
CSGO. Yeah,
that's an easy yes. It can be done on you.
Beat Saber cannot. I mean, you could press A and X and slash. It's not the same. It has to be played in VR to be enjoyed, and so that is something that sets it apart. And it's definitely the game that I have spent the most time playing in VR by far. I was kind of obsessed. It's actually the reason I joined the PC Master Race. I can't do it. That's right. But I'd played the songs on PSVR so many times. I needed new songs. I needed the custom songs. I went out and got the PC and the Rift just to play custom songs. And then some of my neighbors, actually, they'd seen some of the mixed reality videos I made of Beat Saber, and they wanted to try it out. They didn't have any interest in VR. They got a Quest now, and they now play it too. I mean, it is the great unifier of VR, and I can't sing its praises enough. It's also getting people to exercise, getting you to move. It's breaking people's shoulders and their arms and hurting them all. So it's all good. I love it. I think it's the must-have game of VR.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess what it really has going for it is you don't get any motion sickness from it, so it is really good for beginners.
Yes, no motion sickness. And it's one of the few games still, I mean, I love Half-Life, but Half-Life people have found ways to play it outside VR. It's one of the few games that it's just nothing without VR. And that's what we need to keep pushing the platform, is games that actually need to be VR.
I will that you mentioned Half-Life Alyx. I want to say that to give Half-Life Alyx some credit, they did make a game that, compared to games like Onward or Pavlov or a lot of those, even Arizona, those are games that you could definitely see being remapped for PC. Half-Life Alyx is a game that, while it could be remapped for PC, absolutely is designed for VR despite it being a shooter. It absolutely deserves that stamp of as someone who just finished it, it's a truly VR title. If you're one of those people that are waiting for the mod that allows you to play it on PC, please do yourself a favor. Don't play it at a friend's house. It's just a truly exceptional experience in VR, and I don't think you're going to have nearly as much fun. It's going to be slow. It's going to be tedious. It needs that VR to bring it to life, and it's so much more for it.
Yeah, I really want to try that one out. I was kind of bummed out a while back. I don't know if I just read something wrong, but I thought that game was supposed to be coming to Quest. And so then the release date, I was so stoked. And then, I was completely let down. But I have the link now, so yeah.
Link it up.
To check that out too.
It's not my must-have, but it is absolutely a must-own, in my opinion. More so than the previous times I've said that, and more than any of these games. And I think all these games we've mentioned so far are definitely better games. If you can only have one game on your system, they're better games for that. But if you can have two games on your system, the other one's Half-Life Alyx, because it's not replayable like these other games. Maybe, but not really. But it's a beautiful experience. Everyone who has VR is just doing them a disservice if they don't already own the game and aren't working their way through it.
One problem that I have with Half-Life Alyx,
and
that's not to say, right?
There are no problems.
It is incredible, but it is really hard to bring people into that game because of the type of game it is. Like with Pavlov or Beat Saber, you can get someone who doesn't have VR, pop them in a VR headset and say play, and they'll have a blast with it. You can't really do that with Half-Life Alyx because it's a story-driven game. It's really hard to just pop them in the middle of a level of Half-Life Alyx and say have fun.
Right.
It is an incredible game, but it's hard to show people that it's incredible.
Right. I think I do agree with that. Yeah, okay. You're right. But that's not a problem with the game. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, my must-have. So, there's sort of I'm going to say two, but not really. So, I definitely agree with you. In a broad audience, Beat Saber is, it's incredibly replayable. You can have anyone play it. It's got a massive skill ceiling. It's just a ton of fun. As much as I love all the other games I play, Beat Saber is exhilarating. It's fun. You just gosh darn it, I can't keep saying it enough. It is so fun. Beat Saber is a great game. I forget who develops that game off the top of my head, but they really nailed it. I will say it's pretty good by itself, but I would recommend if you have it on Quest, for example, try to do the side quest stuff, because with mods it's suddenly the sky's the limit.
Oh yeah, whole nother world.
That said, it is not my must-have. If I had to have one game on my system, it would be Elite Dangerous, because I will always come back to that game. It's super grindy. It's super grindy. It's not for everyone. I don't think it's everyone's must-have. But for me, I always come back to it. I always love hopping back into my Crate Mark II, just boosting around, doing combat, doing trading, trading's not so fun. Doing doing void opal mining in particular. Not even other types of mining. But I've been playing it for years. I played it a lot before hopping into VR. It's the game that brought me into VR. And when I first played it, there was an issue with it where the skybox felt like it was really close. So it ended up not really being the game I got to play in VR, which I was super bummed about. And that's when I got all the other VR games at that point. But with some updates and where it is right now, I just keep hopping back in. I will always keep doing that. And for me, that's my must-own VR game. And I would recommend trying it out if you haven't already. You'll hate it, but you should.
Is it HOTAS compatible, or is it best played with your hands?
It is.
It's best played with a HOTAS. Okay. You can play it with a Xbox controller. You cannot play it with the VR controllers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They just don't have enough buttons. And that's really true of like most flight simulators that are or racing simulators that are VR compatible. There's like some exceptions like VTOL VR, but for the most part, all like the true in-depth simulator games, which Elite Dangerous is like sort of in the sense that there's not a lot of space simulator games. It's definitely best with a HOTAS, but you don't have to like drop a ton of money on HOTAS. I have the really cheap Thrustmaster, like, I don't know, $30, $60, I forget. And that thing's beautiful. It comes pre-binded, and while I did a bit of adjustments, you're pretty much good to go just buying a HOTAS. It'll work off the bat. That said, you can if you want to try it out and you don't have a HOTAS and you don't want to be like, well, how will I know if it's a good game without a HOTAS? Don't worry, it works perfectly fine with an Xbox or PlayStation controller.
So I actually have Elite Dangerous, and I don't like it very much. and I am a big flight sim guy. I have all sorts of flight sims, especially for VR, with a flight stick and everything. Elite Dangerous is just a really big game to get into at first, especially for VR.
Yep.
And it is a really imposing experience at first. It's been hard for me to get into.
I will walk you through it, man. But I have to agree. So I'm the kind of I don't mind that so much. For a game like Orbus, absolutely not. But for Elite Dangerous, like, to me, the difficulty in just landing for the first time was this wonderful challenge that I loved, but it took me an hour. It took me an hour to land just one time.
Oh, wow.
My first time playing. That said, if you have someone to help you through it, it's not nearly as hard. I've had friends try Elite Dangerous, and I'm able to get them landing in like 5 minutes. But so much of Elite Dangerous, so it's best with a friend, I suppose, someone who's already played, because it doesn't hold your hand. I take that back. It added a lot of tutorials. That's part of why it's a lot easier now. It actually has a lot of great tutorials now. It's a lot easier to jump into than it was like 3 or 4 years ago when I first hopped into Elite Dangerous. That said, it's still got a huge skill curve, and once you get beyond like the basic stuff you want to do, like taking off and sitting down and maybe like a light bit of trading, you kind of have to Google everything. It's not intuitive. To me, that was a good thing, though. I wanted a gameplay experience that sort of was like kind of like what's his name? He does like the something is a nightmare, here's why videos. Have you guys ever seen those?
Up is down or something?
Yeah, up is down. He did a video on Elite Dangerous, and it's a pretty good like summary of Elite Dangerous, I think. And he mentioned how when flying a spaceship is like flying a spaceship as it should be. You shouldn't just be able to hop in and fly a spaceship, much like you shouldn't be able to just hop into a jet engine and take it off. That it's a little bit more complicated than that. And I was okay with that. I was expecting it as I went in, and for me that just made it means that once you get better, you have more control over what you're doing. That's how I saw it. It does have you're right though, it's got a super tough learning curve. It's not like League of Legends tough, but it's pretty tough. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be coming out with a new podcast next week, same time. Hopefully with even bigger, more exciting stuff, more news, more games to play. If you want to support us, we will be creating a Patreon at some point. I don't know if it's going to be out at the time of this podcast. Again, check the description below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
For those of you who actually made it till the end of that, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that very old episode with some very rough audio, and we will see you next time. And remember, dive on in.